Gosford Hotel on the New South Wales Central Coast. The Gosford Hotel. Well, one thing we know that covert emotional incest is going to inevitably do, and that is test your tolerance. It's going to be your tolerance that will hold you together, or your tolerance that will pull you apart. Because once you are exposed to covert emotional incest manifesting, and you realize that something just isn't quite right between the partner that you're with, be it the parent or the child, I don't know what your case would be, then the first thing that's going to start to be tested is your tolerance. Now, you can say to your partner very carefully, because when it comes to challenging maternal values or maternal bonds, you're really treading into an area where you can be assassinated, psychologically assassinated, or physically and emotionally assassinated. Because when you start pressing people maternally, it's no different to jumping into a river with a fast current. Unless that person has an extraordinary love for you and your argument is reasonable and fair, you will be at the mercy of their wrong. Once you probe into the fact that you're witnessing covert emotional incest, you will be causing an alarm to go off in the mind of the parent and the child. And when I say child, it could be a full-grown adult child that you could be enmeshed with or in a relationship with. And what happens is you start to see these exchanges, these emotional exchanges, these bizarre, deep, unusual, quite extraordinary emotional exchanges start taking place. But usually they're well hidden. That's why it's called covert. But it will manifest quite blatantly in front of you as they get comfortable with your presence. But you'll find that the one you're not the partner with will be in some way covertly in opposition to you. In other words, they'll make it out everything's okay on the surface, but underneath they're a time bomb waiting to go off and waiting for you to disappear. They don't want you there. That's how covert emotional incest works. So while you're trying to resolve these things, your patience is being tested, your tolerance is kicked in, you're trying to work out how much of it you can tolerate or not, because covert emotional incest is not something usually that can be resolved. You either you have to come to a compromise, some kind of compromise as to how much you're going to take, how much they're going to do in front of you, and how far you're willing to compromise with these relationships. This is the challenge. And you will have to be the one that submits. Covert emotional incest will not submit in any way to anyone. So your tolerance is going to be tested and tested and tested and tested, because you're not part of the DNA. You're just an outsider. You have to realize that the default will be with the DNA. They say blood's thicker than water. Well, let me tell you, from my experience when it's come to covert emotional incest, it sure is. The problem with covert emotional incest is nobody knows much about it, if you're not aware of it. And if you try and explain to someone that you're sensing that something's just not right, like your partner or something, then you're going to be treading on corns and trying to reveal things that usually they won't understand. They'll feel like you're attacking their maternal relationship rather than a covert emotional incestual relationship. Gets mistaken as a maternal attack rather than a appeal to work with you in easing the covert emotional incestual exchanges, but they won't ease. They'll become more, what can I say, more covert in their exchanges. And what will happen is, as soon as you try and intervene or ask for some kind of resolve, then you'll be marked as a problem. And that, what that does, it then intensifies the covert emotional incestual relationship, because anything that's in opposition to it has to be shut down. And this is where your tolerance will come in. And it'll be a question of how much can you tolerate. And I've met many people and watched videos from many people that have said that they just got to the point where they couldn't tolerate it anymore. So once you've identified covert emotional incest and you've accepted that you're in a situation where you will not be able to tolerate it because there'll be no change. They'll say what you want to hear, but they won't change. Then it's going to come down to how much you can tolerate. For me, I lasted in the last one. Once it manifested and started to come after me, I was gone within 2 weeks. A week and a half, I was gone. Out. I never heard from that person again. We never had an argument. We never had... we worked in with each other. We were spiritually aware of each other, emotionally aware of each other. But as soon as covert emotional incest stepped up, it was over in a week and a half, and I never heard from that woman again. So it's going to come down to your tolerance. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.